And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me, Juan Zarate, our senior national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great to see you.
Big capture for the United States. This is one of the key players, we're told, in the Benghazi attacks of September 2012. Who is this guy? What does this mean?
Abu Khatallah is a member of Ansar al-Sharia, a designated terrorist group with ties to al-Qaeda, both ideologically and operationally. He's been operating in Benghazi, eastern Libya, and he's been accused by the United States, in fact indicted, for his involvement in the attacks on the diplomatic compound that led to the death of the 4 American citizens, to include Ambassador Chris Stevens. And so this is a terrorist operator, somebody who was involved in an actual attack and who has been target number 1 for the United States, not just because of his involvement, but because in part he's been thumbing his nose at the U.S., giving media interviews and other things that have really put him at the forefront of those suspects as part of the Benghazi attack.
Let's talk about the legal process. Right now he's on a Navy ship. He's being interrogated by this special unit that's designed to get intelligence. Republicans in Congress are saying, take this guy to Gitmo.
Yeah. Look, I think the debate always happens in the wrong place. It's not a matter of the process you apply in the back end, whether it's a criminal trial or a military commission. I mean, there's important nuance and rights that attach to that. We can talk about that. But at this stage, the real question is, are we going to be able to exploit him for the intelligence we need? Intelligence in a couple ways. One, to understand what's been happening on the ground in Libya with these terrorist groups. This is a real problem in Libya, where the eastern part of the country, in particular on the outskirts of Benghazi and cities like Derna, have become a repository or a breeding ground for terrorists from around the world. And so it'd be very interesting to understand from him, a guy who's been fairly prominent in these groups, to understand what they know, what he's seen, who's been operating, are there Westerners? So understanding the landscape. The other reason it's important is they want to build a case, not just against him, but against others who may have been involved in the Benghazi attacks. These are going to be hard cases to prosecute, and so they're going to want to understand what he knows and be able to use that to follow up on leads and to gather other information about the dozen or so other individuals that they're going to want to pick up and prosecute.
What is more important and urgent here, the potential prosecution or the intelligence gathering?
Well, I think if you're talking about the counterterrorism world and field, I think it's the intelligence gathering. It's always sort of principle and first and foremost. What do we know about potential attacks? What do we know about network intentions and capabilities? But politically, the question is different, because I think the administration and, frankly, the government wants to be able to hold somebody accountable for both demonstration purposes and for legal accountability for the death of 4 Americans. And that's incredibly important, and politically so. And so the prosecution then becomes important. The challenge here, though, Bob, is the timing. How long will the interrogators get with this guy? Is he cooperating? Will the public safety exception to the Miranda rule, before he's read his rights and given over to the white team of the FBI to interrogate him, how long will that stretch? There's a debate internally within the government on that. And so this presents an interesting question. But ultimately, the U.S. government wants to prosecute him. The Obama administration's applied this hybrid approach to others, Warsami, Abu Anas al-Libi, and others. And so this is going to be, I think, the mode moving forward to try to get intelligence and then to try to prosecute.
Give me a legal opinion here. How tough is this case to prosecute? Because this guy kind of is operated at the fringes. I mean, he's not, as far as we know, kind of a tried, true, hardcore terrorist.
Well, I think it's hard to prosecute, unlike other cases, in 3 ways. One, are we going to be able to produce witnesses and evidence out of that environment to say, oh, yeah, we saw him, he was there, he was leading the attack. So that's one thing. 2, you've had so much discussion, in particular from U.S. officials, high-level officials, talking about this being a spontaneous attack, this being part of mob activity.
Plays into his defense.
Not being directed by anybody. And now we're claiming, in this case, that he was actually the mastermind or leading it in some way. So that doesn't match the narrative actually provided by the U.S. government previously. So if you're defense counsel, you eat that up. You love it. And third, there is really a question of causation. Was he really behind the deaths of these individuals, or did these individuals die in another way? This is more of a technical legal question. What's the causation for the death of the ambassador and the others? Was he really behind it, or was it others? And proving that beyond a reasonable doubt in the court of law, where the evidence can be tested and challenged, is an altogether different proposition than the suppositions or the politics of the Benghazi case.
Tough case.
it's a tough case, and it gets tougher with the others involved. I think they have more evidence on Abu Khatallah because of his prominence than the others.
All right, Juan, thanks very much.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We'll see you next time.